Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty big financial shift that's going to impact millions of Americans. The government is officially flipping the switch back on for its collection program for federal student loans that are in default.
So let's just get right to it. What does this actually mean? Well, for millions of people who've fallen behind on their student loans, it means they could soon see a chunk of their paycheck just disappear. And that's due to something called wage garnishment. And look, this isn't some far-off policy change we're talking about. The Department of Education says the very first wave of these garnishment notices is set to start hitting mailboxes on January 7th. Yeah, that's right around the corner.
Now, we've got to be really clear here. This does not affect everyone with a student loan. This is specifically for borrowers who are in default on their federal student loans. We'll break down exactly what in default means in just a minute.
So what is this January 7th debt wave exactly? Let's unpack why this whole collections program is starting up again, especially after being on pause for years.
You know, the rollout is starting kind of small with an initial group of about 1,000 borrowers getting notified. But don't let that number fool you. The plan is to send out more and more of these notices every single month, all the way through 2026. So it's a slow but steady ramp up.
Right. So this whole thing got put on hold during the pandemic. It was actually supposed to restart over the summer, but it turns out that after being dormant for 5 years, the system just wasn't ready to go live again. So they needed more time, which brings us to now.
Okay, so let's get specific. Who exactly is in the impact zone here? Who really needs to be paying attention to these collection efforts?
The scale of this is, well, it's staggering. According to data from the Department of Education just this past June, a massive 5.3 million borrowers were in default on their federal student loans. That is a huge number of people. And to be crystal clear, that term in default has a very specific meaning. It doesn't mean you just missed a payment or two. For federal student loans, it means you haven't made a single payment for at least 360 days. That's almost a full year with no payments.
All right, this next part is absolutely critical. If you or maybe someone you know might be affected by this is how the whole process works and, importantly, what your options are. So, let's play this out. You get one of these notices in the mail. What happens then? What does that piece of paper actually set into motion?
Here's the timeline. By law, you have to be given a 30-day notice. In that 30-day window, that's your chance to act. You can pay the balance, you can try to negotiate new terms, or you can request a hearing. It's only after those 30 days are up, if nothing's been done, that wage withholding can actually begin.
So, the big question, how much can they take? Well, if the garnishment goes through, the government can withhold up to 15% of your after-tax income. And they can keep doing that until the loan is either paid off or you're not in default anymore. Finally, it's really important to understand that this isn't happening in a vacuum. The entire student loan landscape is shifting right now because of new legislation.
The new rules do offer one little bit of a lifeline. Before, you could only rehabilitate a defaulted loan. You know, get it back in good standing one time. That was it. But now, borrowers are getting a second chance to do that.
The new laws are also bringing in hard borrowing caps. For the first time ever, there are lifetime limits on how much students can borrow from the federal government. And you can see there are different caps for grad students, medical and law students, and even for parents taking out loans.
Now, this is a major change. There was a program called Graduate Plus, and it was a really popular option because it let grad students borrow enough to cover the full cost of their school. Well, under the new rules, that program is being completely eliminated. It's gone. And here's another crucial change. Some of the key safety nets are being removed. Deferment options that let you pause payments if you lost your job or ran into economic hardship, they're being eliminated. This means that down the road, borrowers facing financial trouble just won't have those same official ways to postpone payments.
So after all that, what's the most important thing to take away? It's this. Collections are restarting, and that's a serious development for millions. But the most critical point is that there's a defined 30-day window after you get a notice to take action and explore your options before any money is taken from your wages. And that leaves us with this final, really pressing question. With 5.3 million borrowers already in default and many more reportedly falling behind, is this first wave of collections just the beginning of a much larger trend in the years to come?